Good morning. Welcome to Discovery's digital gathering. We are glad you're here. We are excited for what God has in store this morning. We want to invite you to download our app, which will help you stay current with our community and get further connected by filling out our new visitor card. Let's prepare our hearts for worship and for the adventure of discovering the good news of Jesus together.
You're my strength, you're my shield. I lift you up when trouble's near. You're all around me, working around me. With sorrow like clouds that blows, you are my rock. You're in control, you're all around. You are faithful in the waiting. You don't leave me. Though my heart and flesh may fail, all I need is found in you. I need your voice. You're my guide, step by step. You lead the way. You're all around, working around me. I know you've been before. You haven't changed. I need you more. You're all around me, working around me. Yeah, you are faithful in the waiting.
Hello Discovery family, so good to be with you today. My name is Antonio Reyes and I get to be part of the pastoral team in this community. And I'm so excited to be able to share this message and continue this conversation on exile, this week 3 of exile, this conversation that we're going through the book of Ephesians. And Pastor Steve had displayed great insight about this letter. And today I get to continue this conversation and I want to point a couple things out that I believe they're very valuable to the season that we're living in, the current culture, the things that we're struggling in, that we're actually changing. There's so many things happening that sometimes we don't know how to navigate life. And I believe that Paul gives us an insight about what God desires for us. And if this is your first time, we just want to welcome you. We hope that you can receive hope, joy, whatever you find yourself at. And if this is your second, third, fourth, fifth time, if you're part of this family, we just want to welcome you. And we're going to find ourselves in the letter to the Ephesians chapter 1. And I want to start from the bottom up. There's this moment towards the end of chapter 1 that we see this prayer from Paul to this community. You know what prayers does? Is that it reveals the heart of the person who's praying. This prayer reveals the desire of Paul for this community of faith. And I want to read it instead of going from the top to the bottom. I want to go from the bottom up. And it starts in chapter 1, verse 22. And it says, God has put all things under the authority of Christ and has made him head over all the things for the benefit of the church. And the church is his body. It is made full and complete by Christ, who fills all things everywhere with himself. You know, one of the things about this letter is that this letter is a reminder of who they are. A reminder of who they were. They were in the beginning stages of the next of what God was trying to build with this community. See, this next was going to bring pressure, violence. This next thing was going to bring dilemmas. It was going to bring difficulties. See, building this new thing called the church, this organic movement that started in that moment, that was going to become the representation of the beauty and the mystery of Jesus. Paul is trying to give him perspective and understanding and clarity of what he desires for this community as they'll start building it up. You know, I find myself that I don't get easily offended. And you know what? I was bullied when I grew up in Mexico, and that kind of built me thick skin. And you know, one of the things that I noticed that the only way you can offend me is when you invite me to eat something with a lot of vegetables. I know that hate is a strong word, but it describes what I feel for vegetables. I'll tell you the truth, family. I just hate vegetables. I grew up in my life not eating vegetables. And you might ask yourself, but how do you survive? That's a great question. Some of you guys are doctors. Call me, text me, let me know how I survive. You know, I'm a 32-year-old man with the taste of a 10-year-old. I crave sugar all the time. Vegetables is not something that I want. But you know what I noticed? I have a weird relationship with vegetables. Because I can eat it with certain things, with certain foods. But this is not something that I'm going to go out of my way to actually seek. And I know you can come and tell me all the benefits and the statistics that what vegetables do to my health. And I understand that, but I still don't care. I still don't like them. You know, I have lived so long without eating vegetables consistently that I'm believing this lie that I can probably go to the rest of my life without eating vegetables that much. But you and I know that that's a lie. You and I know that I need the nutrients of the vegetables for the rest of my life, for my future more than anything. That if I want to live healthy and to my fullest capacity, I need to eat vegetables. But see, I still don't care. That's what happens with me. I don't like it. I can eat it with some things, but I won't go out of my way to actually eat vegetables. Which, this same conversation, this same concept takes me back to the conversations that I've been having with friends about the church. They understand the benefits of the church. They understand the benefits of being part of a community, but they have arrived to a place where they believe, I don't need church. I don't need this space. I don't think this matters no more to me. And I know and I understand. But they have believed that they can experience the fullness of who God is not being part of the church. And I have been vocal about it and telling them with the love that I have for them, that is not true. But I'm not going to lie. I have questions about the church. I question myself constantly. Does the church matter? How we move on out of this place. How we evolve out of church. Are we over it? Are we more hurtful than helpful to the communities? Are we antiquated? Are we relevant? Is the church relevant? Does the church matter? And let me tell you, I'm one of the first people that I will tell you, I know the church has caused a lot of pain and have hurt a lot of people, have been involved in unhealthy things all the time. But can I just tell you something? Paul has something to say about this movement called the church. And he says that we are the body of Jesus, that we are the representation of who God is. The church matters, friend, because it's through the church that God that God reveals the purpose for humanity. That God reveals the fullness of who Jesus is to humanity. That is through this community, this tribe called the church, that he reveals himself to humanity. This is the way he makes himself known to us. And I know this unity thing sounds complicated. It doesn't sound as sexy, but I understand. I understand that we live in a time where it's so much easier to go to the forest and have a sense of the sacred. It's so much easier to go to the beach and see the waves crash against the rocks and have the sense of the transcendent. I know it's easier for us to go on a walk to the mountain and have this connection with the divine. It's so easy to do those things. I'm asking the question, why? It's easier to go to those spaces and have the sense of God close to us than being in proximity with people that are in pain, people that are in hurt, people that are broken, even the people that might just pretend that everything is okay. Why? It's so much easier to find God in those spaces than around people. I know that there's this narrative of me and God only. I don't need no one else. That has been part of our culture narrative. But see, what we miss is that when God called us to himself, he's calling us to each other as well. That we have believed this lie that the summit of the human experience, that the summit of spirituality is when I no longer need no one else to help me, when I can do this by myself. We have believed this lie. See, you guys here in the United States have this epidemic that I call I got it people. That got it people is so interesting. Have you been in proximity to people that are trying to do something and you see that they're struggling and you offer yourself to help and they say, no, I got it. And sometimes I'm being in proximity with people that I know they don't, but they still don't receive the help that they need. They're like I got it people. I got it. It's that they have the sense if they ask for help, they seem weaker. And it's not true. That I got it, people. And I believe that we have believed this about everything that we do in life, in our current society. See, Pastor Erwin McManus and even Barna Group have talked about this. The crisis of the human connection that exists in our culture. What is that we have a hard time to connect with each other? See, Paul lets us know that the way we can experience the fullness of what Jesus offers, his joy, his peace, his kindness, the faith that he offers, is only when we come together as a community. That we have not evolved out of the power of coming together as a church and as a family, he says. That the representation of who God is through the church. See, the miracle that Jesus intended through his sacrifice is as much about God and us that is about us and other people. That if there ever been a declaration of the wonder and the significance and the essential nature of the church, is this here in this letter that expresses the power of the church, that you and I can only experience the fullness of who Jesus is only through the church. See, when I was in college, we used to play this game called Scavenger Hunt. They will put things together of 10 people and they will give us different objects or even people, random things that we needed to go and find them through the city. And as we find them through the city, we'll have to take a picture, all of us together. And that's the way we actually won the contest. And you know what the crazy thing is, that they will put 10 people on one team, which means that everybody have a different pace, everybody has a different drive, and not everybody's competitive, which would frustrate me. Let me tell you, family, I'm a competitive person. And when I would have to be with people that would have no drive, no desire to do this, I would get so frustrated, so mad, family. Because I'm trying to win. But the only way I can win is if I have them in the picture. If everybody's together in the assignment that we have. And this reminds me to the picture of the church. The only way we can experience the fullness of Jesus is when we actually come together with our differences. See, in the Gospel of John, chapter 17, Jesus prays for us. Not just for the apostles, but for us too. He lets us know what he desires for us. And notice, he doesn't pray for political power. He doesn't pray against those things that are a threat against our faith. He prays for unity, not uniformity. He is not about copy and paste, unity. The difference that we have, all of us as individuals, we can come together in synergy. And that's the way we can experience the fullness of Jesus. And we can display that as a family. We can display it to our culture, to society. The God of love, the source of hope, the joy that he brings to everyone. That when society and culture is suffering in isolation, we can come together as a hope of our community. That's the way he makes himself known to people. See, Paul is writing to this community that will become at one point the epicenter of the gods of the Romans and the Greeks. A community that would experience and know, and they knew a lot. But Paul wants to speak to this community in particular, to this church in this context. He lets them know, I don't want you to only know about this message. I want you to experience this message. You can see it in verse 19, and he says, I also pray that you will understand the incredible greatness of God's power for us who believe in him. This is the same mighty power that raised Christ from the dead and seated him in the place of honor at God's right hand in the heavenly realms. See, Paul is saying, I don't want you just to know. I want you to experience the power that comes with this. It's such a power that is the same power that raised Jesus from the dead. See, but you and I can experience power in a very different way. And we can see this as Paul reveals what he wants for this community in verse 17. He says, I'm asking God, the glorious Father of the Lord Jesus Christ, to give you spiritual wisdom and insight so that you might grow in your knowledge to God. See, Paul is saying, I want you to have insight. I want God to remove the current to show you things that nobody else knows. But I don't want you to just to have insight for the sake of having insight. I want you to have wisdom with that. See, because when we have insight, we weaponize that. We become elitists with insight. And Paul is saying, no. I want you to have a mix. I want you to have a dance between wisdom and insight that shows you practically what to do with that. I don't want you just to have knowledge for the sake of having knowledge, but I want you to have a wisdom. See, wisdom involves the practical ability to act on what we know and believe. See, in a culture where we're so obsessed with information, data, statistics, facts, we lack wisdom. That's why you see intelligent people tweeting dumb comments. That we have access to information, but we lack so much wisdom. See, wisdom helps us apply this divine truth in the context of turns, twists, and the dangers of life. See, to live the way God intended us to live, we can not only live with the right answers, we need wisdom to help us sustain our life. See, wisdom is not just knowledge, it's not common sense, it's not straight knowledge. That God can use those things, of course, but that's not wisdom. See, for years, the church has told everyone how to live rightly, but not wisely. See, family, with insight, we need wisdom. And Paul is saying, I want you to live in this culture where you know so much, but you don't know sometimes what to do with that. I want you to be the representation of the beauty and the mystery of Jesus, but I want you to become the recipients of wisdom, not just to have intelligence and knowledge. See, in verse 18, he closes, I want to close with this. I pray that your hearts will be flooded with the light so that you can understand the confident hope he has given to those he called his holy people, who are his rich and glorious inheritance. See, Paul is saying, I want this insight and wisdom to have an impact on your thinking, decision-making aspect of who you are. Let me repeat that again. I know it's a weird thing. I want this insight and wisdom to have an impact in your thinking, decision-making aspect of you. That's your heart. See, I love how the Passion Translation translate this. And I pray, and it says in verse 18, I pray that the light of God will illuminate the eyes of your imagination, floating with the light until you experience the full revelation of the hope of his calling. That is the wealth of God's glorious inheritance that he finds in us, his holy ones. See, Paul doesn't want intellectual clearness only, but a moral awareness, a passion that goes from the head to the heart. See, one of the things that I hated the most about this is that talking about benefits. I'm horrible with benefits, family. You know, I remember buying my car, and I'm not the type of person that reads the contracts. I know that's awful. I don't read my benefits or that I'm paying for. And you know how much money I have wasted paying something that I already got, but because I lack awareness of what I have, the services that I have, I miss it. I lack so much awareness, and I have spent so much money, and I have lost so much money, and even like paying for things that I don't use because I lack awareness of my benefits. See, Paul is trying to let us know, I want you just to have insight and wisdom, but that wisdom and insight will bring an impact in your imagination and in your heart where you take decisions, so that you can actually find the benefits and the wealth of God for your life. Paul wants us to discover the privilege that comes not just by connecting with the Creator, but also by connecting with each other. See, for some of us that we think that we don't need this church and the culture and community, Tony Evans says this: it's like you and I live in a poor life and sitting next to a pile of wealth, but we never actually access. Family, my prayer for you is that you can find the beauty and the wonder and the mystery as you lean into this organic community called the church. That even with the defaults, the brokenness that it has, that you can understand that Jesus values unity and community, and that he makes himself known through this church, and the fullness that we can experience is only through the church. Let me pray for you. God, bless everybody who is listening to this message, that you can make yourself known to them, that you can bring people around them, they can bring them to this community called the church, that they find a place where they can belong. I ask you this in your beautiful name of Jesus.
Worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise we could ever bring, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Live for you. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes and watch. Show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Worthy of every song we could ever sing. Worthy of all the praise we could ever bring. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Jesus, the name above any other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Oh, we live for you. So holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes and watch. Show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes and watch. Show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Lead me in your love. Oh, replace my heart with yours. Replace my mind with yours. Your ways are higher. Your ways are higher than my ways. Your thoughts are not my ways, God. I need to be more like you. Show me who you are. Show me who you are, yeah. Show me who you are. Show me who you are, baby. Show me who you are. Show me who you are. Oh, I wanna be like you. Oh, I wanna be like you. I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation. I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation. I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside. inside you. Open up my eyes in wonder. Show me who you are. Fill me with your heart and lead in your love to those around me.
Family, as we finish this, I just want to pray for you that you can find the fullness of Jesus as you become part of this community. That if you don't feel that you fit in, trust me, none of us feels that way sometimes. Sometimes it feels that we're going against our own feelings, but trust me, you will see beautiful and wonderful things as you become part of what God is calling us to build. We love you, family. Hope to see you soon.